Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, wa salatu ala Rasulullah. Subhanallah, in these past several weeks, the Ummah has had time to think. In light of the reality, in light of the genocide by the Zionist club against the Palestinians, we have now had time to confront the reality. And I just wanted to make this video to add to that. I wanted to pose some hardball questions. Questions that are painful in nature, and maybe for that reason people would like to avoid them. Maybe you've not heard these questions posed, but I would like to pose them. So let me just get started. I'll pose the questions and then I'll come back and offer commentary. So question 1. If you participate in boycotts, social media campaigns, demonstrations for the people of Gaza, why weren't you doing so before October 7th? Question 2. We know all the khutbahs, at least in the places where khutbahs are allowed to be freely selected, are all about Gaza. Every khutbah for the past several weeks has been about Gaza. Not salat, not dhikr, not dua. Well, dua, we'll get to that point. It's been about Gaza. Question. Why haven't all the khutbahs been about Gaza since before October 7th? Question 3. We've seen in the wake of this conflict a sense of Muslim unity, a sense of a heightened level of consciousness regarding our, our solidarity together as Muslims. You know, you've seen, I'll give an example of Sheikh Asim al-Hakim, who posted a beautiful tweet saying that, you know, the Salafis and the Sufis, you know, it's time to stop this division while there is a common enemy to Islam and the Muslimin. And you've seen such statements, you know, by many other, you know, let's say influentials. You've seen certain scholars and councils of scholars condemning the inaction of the Ummah and the Arab armies in aiding the people of Gaza, vocally. So the question is, and you might have guessed by the trend that these questions are going, why didn't we have all of that before October 7th? And let me add one more question. Not only has Gaza been under attack, but we've seen calamities recently and ongoing in East Turkestan, in Kashmir, in India, in Burma for the Rohingya. And so my last question would be, why weren't all the khutbahs, why weren't all the demonstrations, why weren't all the boycotts, why wasn't this heightened level of consciousness created by the events that already happened, that had already been oppressing and suppressing and violating the humanity of the Muslims? So let me now give my commentary. Maybe you should think about these questions yourself. But really, all of the questions have really the same theme, which is October 7th. Like, what is so special? What is so special about the recent escalation? Yes, the death counts are very high for the short period of time. However, like you could just, let's stick with Gaza. Was Gaza not under Israeli occupation before October 7th? Was there not oppression and humiliation of the Muslims in Gaza before October 7th? Was there not a collective failure of the Ummah to help Palestine and the Palestinians to free Al-Aqsa before October 7th? So to answer my question with another question, if this was all the case, why the recent and exclusively recently the reaction? I guess the answer is in the question. It's a reaction. It's a reaction to the now very blatant humanitarian abuses. But you see, as principled Muslims, it shouldn't have been a reaction now. It should have been a constant opposition towards this thing, where our lands are occupied, the leaders are stooges, the hukum of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the law, the sharia is not implemented, the ummah is not united. This has been the case not since October 7th. What many of the imams and many of the influentials in their heightened level of consciousness for Palestine, which is a beautiful thing. It is the silver lining to come out of the conflict. But I only want to point to the paradox, the contradiction, whatever you want to call it, that, that mentality of no Salafi versus Sufi, let's all be one ummah united against the enemy, should have existed since World War I. When was the Khilafah destroyed? Not October 7th. When were the root causes that enabled the oppression of the Muslimin, the colonization of the Muslimin, the cheapening of Muslim blood, which is more sacred than the Kaaba, and is now cheaper than the blood of animals, wa'iyadhu billah. When did those root causes come into effect? Or when was right now, October 7th, or let's say the events, after October 7th, are a symptom. East Turkestan is a symptom. Kashmir is a symptom. When is the Ummah going to acknowledge these are symptoms? The root cause is the lack of unity, the lack of establishment of Khilafah, the lack of establishment of Islam, as it was Khilafah Rashida for the first 30 years. And then we had, the caliphate went through a tumultuous phase. It was still caliphate, but it was not Rashida. And then, as the hadith prophesies, after this mulkan Adda or mulkan Jabriya will come Khilafah ala minhaj nubuwah. Some people ask, what can I do for Palestine? And much of the solution is about, just make dua. But people don't acknowledge, or they fail to pair what they learned to pair when they were 6 years old, which is the dua and the action. You make dua and you act in accordance with cause and effect. And this one probably needs a whole other video on its own, but it's not enough to just make dua for the people of Palestine or the people of Kashmir or the people of East Turkestan. It is necessary for us to take into account cause and effect and uniting the ummah so that the ummah can be behaving as one body for the interest of Islam and Muslimin, not for the Egyptians for the interest of Egypt, or the Turks for the interest of Turkey, or whomever for the interest of whomever, except for the Muslims for the interest of Islam. So, I'll try to bring this halaqah to a close. What I really wanted to impress upon you is that, all of the current energy and consciousness and awareness and unity that exists around, and solidarity that exists around this calamity that's occurring in Gaza, which is a silver lining of the calamity, is something that should have existed before, and it should continue to exist once this is gone from the news. We cannot be a reactionary ummah. We cannot just basically be in our own little bubbles and worried about our own little lives until the symptoms of our actions come right in our faces, right on our Instagram feeds. Then we have to say something. What is this? This is not befitting of Ummah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So I enjoin all of you to just reflect on that and spread the message, and at least whatever it is, I guess the very least is you should hold on to this sentiment forever. The unity of the Muslims, no bickering between the Muslims. وَلَا تَنَازَعُوا فَتَفْشَلُوا. وصلى الله على رسوله الكريم وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.